4 attacks starting on July the 18th, this Afghan refugee hacking at passengers on a train. Then we had the German teenager shooting 9 people dead in the shopping centre and McDonald's. The Syrian refugee just a few days ago killing a pregnant woman. And later that day, as we know, in Ansbach, the Syrian refugee who blew himself up just outside the music festival. A series of attacks in a very short space of time. What is going on?
Well, I think it's important to make the difference between the attacks we've seen in Würzburg and Ansbach and the attacks we've seen in Munich and in Reutlingen. 2 of them were terrorist attacks with an Islamist background, and the other 2 attacks, the ones in Munich and in Reutlingen, appear to be more grounded in personal motives rather than political or ideological or religious justifications. I think that is a very important distinction to make. Not every Muslim who carries out a brutal attack is actually a terrorist or a jihadi.
But the ones that have cited ISIS as an inspiration, why choose Germany? Germany isn't necessarily involved in airstrikes. Is it because of other reasons? What's going on?
Well, I would mention 3 things, really. One is that this is, of course, not the first time that a terrorist has tried to commit an atrocity on German soil. The authorities got very lucky in the past trying to prevent these attacks. They foiled some major attacks that could have turned out very bloody had they succeeded. So it was always a question of when and not if. They have to be lucky once, we have to be lucky all the time, which actually brings me to my second point, namely that Germany is a Western country. That in itself makes it an enemy state. It is true that Germany is not involved in airstrikes in Syria or Iraq, but Germany is actively taking part in the anti-Islamic State coalition. They're providing military assistance, military training to the Peshmerga, for instance, in northern Iraq. And also, of course, let's not forget, Germany has taken in 1.5 million refugees and migrants. And while, of course, not all of them pose potential threat, it would be very naive to think that if you let in a large number of unvetted people, that all of them come with good intentions.
The kind of attacks we've seen, the axe and the knife attack in particular, these kind of attacks, not necessarily using explosives, have been seen in Israel, haven't they, for quite some time now? So is this something that the security services are looking at to say, well, intelligence can only take you so far in tracing people who've gone to Syria, gone to Iraq to get that kind of training? We're looking at a whole new breed of terrorist here.
Yes, you're making a very important point. I mean, Israel has been confronted with that type of terrorism for a long time, really, and even though Israel is known to have one of the most effective security services in the world, they haven't been able really to stop these attacks. And it's a different type of terrorism than the one that we've seen a decade ago or even a couple of years ago. Because let's not forget, the Islamic State to make a difference. They don't really differentiate between attacks that are actually planned, carried out, executed by members of their organizations and attacks that are inspired by them. So, everyone can actually become a soldier of the caliphate simply by pledging allegiance to the Islamic State, or in particular to their leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and then going about their business and killing as many innocent people as they possibly can, as long as they leave behind a video message, a voice message, make a 911 call, whatever. That is enough for the Islamic State to then go and claim these attacks.
Julie, thank you, and thanks for posting.